of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristero. Chapter 119. Talks. Part 6. What? No way! The Wild Draw 4 card? Damn, you're getting pretty slick at this, not scared. Hanging out was actually really fun. It's time to switch it up a bit. Oh yeah! Can't go, my little birdie buddy. We're shifting to blue. These adults were nothing like the stuffy, crusty old men and shrewd women that his father employed. Better still, even though they were older than him, they were making him feel included, wanted, and they were more than happy to listen to him, like they valued what he had to say. What? Tashi, that's cold, man. Sorry, Spinchan, I was gonna save this to get back at him for that cruel use of a wild card dare from the last time we played. But if I don't pull this stunt now, then my goose is cooked. He never met any adult outside of his mother who liked conversing with a child, let alone him.
Draw 10 cards or they'll say he's a loser. That's Cards Against Humanity level shit, dude. You were gonna make our resident DJ choose between dissing his boyfriend and losing? You, sir, are a monster.
Not that he felt like a stupid kid right now. The young men were treating him as though they'd known each other for years. They forgave his mistakes and misunderstandings like they were no big deal. They explained things to him without patronizing him. They joked, laughed, and acted like they normally would. He wasn't an intruder on their fun or their time. He was a part of it. A monster who is hoping you'll do the noble thing and pick up those cards, Spinjan! Keigo tittered in a babyish tone, his lashes fluttering coyly, even as Hizashi and Oboro gasped, the cloud quirk user pretending to hold the blonde back as he threw mock punches. And besides, if you do call our dearest physio a loser, then you'll get jumped not just by his boyfriend, but I'm pretty sure Takeo and Naoki will kick your ass too, you know? He chirped, his hands flourishing around the card pile. Snickering with Muriel, Natsuo watched as the gecko cork man sighed, narrowed his eyes at the grinning fiend, and then grabbed for the cards the game demanded he take.
I hate that we're using blank wild cards,
he grumbled, a smirk splitting his features as the winged man winked and fanned himself with his paltry 8 cards. Spinner had only had 4 before the winged man hit him with his dry wipe markered weapon.
You know I'll get you back for this, right?
Oh, you could try, my friend, you could try. But I hadn't meant to intrude on such a tender family moment. However, as Chomra welcomed him in, he happily embraced both of the young men and congratulated them on their dual good news, his smile pleased and their hug warm. They'd both come so far from the quiet, sometimes ruthlessly snarky and jaded young people he'd first met 2 years ago. Both of them now stood a little taller, laughed with delight instead of scorn, actually enjoyed the company of their pro-spattered community. It was beautiful, really, to see them so settled now, to see them content in love and thriving. Therefore, to be told of their engagement, even with them being so young, was a pleasure, and now he had some hopefully great news of his own to offer as well.
Todoroki Enji's trial has been scheduled for September 2nd. He told them after Toshinori had insisted that he sit. They'd speak to the children and Rei when they were back at UA. Dabi trusted Shouta to tell the rest of their cafe community later that evening, too. With him formerly being the number 2 hero, the HPSC has pushed for the earliest date they could get, and since the police force and our agencies have been evidence collecting for the past 2 years, we're confident that he'll serve a minimum of 25 years before any chance of parole, he stated with a nod, his smile softening when Fire-Scarred Man sighed with relief. It was a terrible shame, a tragedy, really, that the predicted sentence was mainly due to the Commission wanting to make an example of Endeavor as a fallen pro and not the many cruelties he'd forced upon his family. Still, a win was a win, and God knew that the Todoroki family deserved one. Well, I expected to feel ridiculously pleased to hear that. Blinking, he and the others turned to Dabi, his expression incredulous as he hastily wiped at his astonished eyes. I'm so angry that we had to end up there in the first place, you know? He breathed, his head now in his hands, his elbows dug into his thighs as he trembled. My mom, she's so amazing. Why wasn't she
Why weren't we enough to make him happy? So, he was a stranger, someone I was gonna rob, and then... How could someone like him love me, love all of us, make us feel safe? When my own... Fuck. Sorry. He tried to laugh. Today is meant to be a good one, and I don't... Watching as Shouta moved from Toshinori's side to sit next to the distraught teen, the raven-haired man wrapped his oldest ward into a hug and softly whispered for him to let it out. 25 years or 200, a cruel little voice in the back of his mind murmured that there was no punishment strong enough for the despicable former hero, and so his gold eyes meeting his best friends, the pair quietly excused themselves. For as much as they all were family in one way or another, grief of this nature needed a more delicate, private approach. Once again, he found himself incredibly grateful for whatever twist of fate that had brought the Nodaneko and its community into his life, because even as that poor boy sobbed for an acceptance, love, and understanding Enji would never give him, he had a father in Shouta. He had his lover, his mother, his siblings, his uncles, aunties, and dear Mimi-chan with her girls, the wonderful flock of women acting as the grandmothers many of them had never been fortunate enough to have, and although that couldn't negate a childhood of misery, it was a firm platform for him to grow up from as an adult. Speaking of which, so, the marriage bug seems to be going around, he mused as they made their way down the front stairs, his tone light in an attempt to distract Toshinori from worrying too much. That's right. Wait! The blonde suddenly gushed, his hulking form nearly bowling them down the stairs. The pair stumbled into an ungainly stop near the bottom of the stairs. His shoulder suddenly grabbed. Not quite. He cut in with a fond chuckle, his eyes rolling as the other's good mood was restored. He and I haven't been dating long enough to approach such things, but we've been flirting with the idea of moving in together, he furthered with a light shrug. Even for someone like me with my quirk, I could have never foreseen this for myself, you know, he murmured as they entered the kitchen, his expensive leather dress shoes stopping him just before the service door. I thought I'd end up being alone. I mean, my agency is so busy. Villains are still plentiful, and with the nature of our work, I genuinely didn't think I'd have a family other than you and my sidekicks, you know. Sighing as the taller, broader man wrapped comforting arms around him, he felt his eyes slipping closed. I know, the other murmured, the jovial tone he was known for deepening with the depth of feeling he lacquered upon his words. Truthfully, I hadn't expected to live this long, let alone to be this happy, this content, he mused. We have so much to be thankful for, don't we? Yes, we do. He heard himself chuckle before a mischievous glint momentarily flashing across his glasses. Oh, and I've been meaning to ask you, he furthered, his head tilting back to observe the blinking behemoth. Did Shouta show you the video Atsuhiro sent him last night, Letting out a quietly relieved sigh, the eatery owner continued to hum a tune until his oldest ward's sniffle subsided. The 18-year-old's body curled into his chest, with Tomra faithfully at his side. I'm sorry, Sho. The flame quirk user sighed through a shudder. We've guests downstairs who are fine, who will be having too much fun and miss us, I'm sure. He murmured into those jagged locks of soft, dyed ebony hair. Honestly, I'm simply glad that you finally allowed your dam to break, Dobby. He told him gently. You have every right to be angry, to be broken-hearted and to grieve. He reminded softly. And not that it's the same, but when I finally managed to approach my middle school teachers about Itsu-san and how she ran my care center, well, 2 or 3 days after leaving there, once the other boys were relocated and okay, I locked myself in my high school dorm room and cried harder than Inko and Izuku combined. He chuckled, the teens blinking and snuggering at the image he painted for them. Jeez, Cat Dad, the pale-haired youth grinned, his gloved hands soothingly rubbing at his partner's back. Is that the real reason why you got dry? You rang it all your 2 ducks when you were 15, is that it? Yeah, you got me. He huffed, his eyes rolling fondly before he hugged the flame-scarred young man a little closer. Sometimes, even when good comes from bad, that bad is something that'll always be with us. And it's fine to remember it. It's right to analyze, unpick, and process it, and I'm so
So glad that you're allowing yourself to do that.
He smiled.
I'd have been incredibly worried if you kept trying to be happy, because that's what you thought you should be. If I had 1,000 yen for every time I've had to go over this with Toshinori, I'd have more money than him and Captain Celebrity combined, you know.
He mused, the younger man having at another laugh. Only this time the volume was louder, and after a sniff, Dobby was sat back, his eyes were reddened, but that would subside. He looked... Do you think that Tsukudameji would do me a favor if we asked him? Determined.
A favor,
He repeated, his brows rising.
You want to speak to Todoroki before the trial, don't you?
He asked. Not that he was surprised, not really.
You don't think I should?
The other asked, his tone unsure. Placing a calming hand upon the other's shoulder, he made sure that their eyes were locked before continuing.
What I think is irrelevant,
He said with a little nod.
This is your life and your choice.
He stated.
Whatever your decision, you'll have my full and unwavering support, okay?
He furthered, the other relaxing at his words.
In that case, when you go to Taurus, I want to come too.
Blinking, he and his tallest ward turned to Tomra, his face equally resolved.
I need some closure, and I think the only way I can get it is by talking, to him.
He confessed, the pair of them reaching for him and rubbing at his arms.
Would you both come with me?
Of course we will.
They replied in unison, the three of them grinning at the shared utterance before Shouta straightened his shoulders and moved to pluck his phone from the armrest, his fingers tapping over the screen.
I can't make any promises,
he informed them, both teams nodding their understanding, their features serious, as he prepared a text message that he knew one day he'd have to send. To confront their abusers was their right, no matter how much his gut was twisting at the thought of it.
But I'll put your requests through to Kenji-san now, alright?
Thanks, Sho. They murmured, their shoulders a little less tense, their eyes a little brighter. If either Shigaraki or Endeavor upset either of his wards further, then he wasn't quite sure what he'd do. However, given a little time, he was certain he could come up with something that'd make the cafe special feel like a kiss to the forehead. Heading downstairs together, Shouta took a moment to breathe and collect himself before following his teens through the kitchen and into the service bar. Kenji-san had said he could arrange for the three of them to visit Tartarus this time next week. Hooray! But still, he'd been scheduled for his monthly visit pretty soon anyway. He was not making anything for Enji, though. Oh, there you are! Blinking out of his thoughts, his brows rising alongside those of his suit-clad lodgers, the raven-haired cafe owner felt his head cocked to one side as Toshinori stood before the display case with a stern smile tugging at his lips. His arms were looped around a sheepish-looking Marai and nervously grinning at Zuhiro. Oh, dynamite! You got a little murder sparking around your eyes there. Dobby mused whilst Tomura nodded sagely, his grin spreading. Oh no! Oh, no, don't be silly! Ha 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 ha! The sun-kissed man tried to joke, his arms tightening around the man he held. We were just chewing the fat while waiting for you, isn't that so, gentlemen? He furthered, the neon of his eyes flashing. And speaking of which, you both have something you want to say, right? Then the green-haired partners chuckling. Shouta felt his head tilting further. Wait, was this about... Shouta! The reformed criminal tried. I really hope the Marai and I have defended you by making gluten-class comments, you know? Laugh, snorting, the eraser quirk user couldn't stop the smile eating up his face.
Of course not.
He chapped good-naturedly.
It's actually very flattering, regardless of it clearly being a joke.
I know it! I make busted! Sorry! The similarly dark-eyed man wheezed whilst the future seer snickered and Toshinori grumbled a little, his lips pouting. The lovable lummox wasn't jealous, he knew, but regardless of him being arguably one of the most famous people in Japan, he could be insecure sometimes. He'd spent so much of his life being loved for what he was, as opposed to who, that as he'd quietly confessed to him after they'd officially gotten together, we worried that he somehow wasn't good enough for him. The beautiful, well-meaning, sweet-natured idiot!
Apology accepted.
He shrugged.
Satoshi, come on, lay off.
He furthered at his mock-sulking fiancée, the other reluctantly releasing Atsuhiro and his former sidekick, who straightened his tie and winked at him before following. Such a troll.
Okay,
He chuckled.
boys, why don't you go and check on everyone whilst we see the cakes, alright?
He suggested, the teens nodding as they walked through the privacy gate, with Dobby muttering, "No funny business in the kitchen, Dad, right?" As Tomer added,
If I ever see you kissing Cream off his face again, it'll be too soon, you pair of saps.
whilst they went, snickering and watching as his lover turned bright red. He offered the number one pro his right hand and waggled his brows a little to put him at ease as he pushed that tall, broad hero through into his inner sanctum.
I'm sorry if I overstepped. You were defending my honor, you wonderful goof.
He quipped with a light shrug whilst approaching the chiller, his hands fetching out a white chocolate-eared bunny-faced muffin, out to delight the other man and smooth his worry away.
Besides, as great as Atsuhiro and Mirai are, I've only got eyes for you, you know.
He added as they regarded each other, his smile warm, as the stronger sighed adoringly and took the offered cake with a gentle reverence.
Now, come on, the kids will start rioting if we don't get these cakes out and play some games with them, won't they?
As it always seemed to be, the Northern Echo Cafe was teeming with youthful exuberance, cheer, and delicious-looking food.
Oh! Congratulations, you guys! You won't know what hit it!
The children, each so talented, gifted in their own ways, were, as Shouta-kun had so rightfully predicted, delighted by the latest additions to their community. Their laughter, chatter, and kinship were something he knew his dear little brother would be enjoying, as he no doubt stared out of the buffoon's eyes.
No way! You're getting hitched too? Wow! Everyone who was in the betting pool, hand your yen to Nomori so she can start buying gifts and wedding favors.
The buffoon was so intimately cozied up with the young man who deserved so much more than the grinning moron he'd agreed to marry for reasons which escaped him.
Oh my gosh! Spinnerly! You're gonna be like the world's best firefighter, you know? Deku! You gotta be psychic, dude! Your guesses are always bringing the money! And that is so freaking manly!
But there was no accounting for taste, was there? But he could work on that, given a little time. Lemon meringue? Shonani, how did you know I'd like this so much? It's delicious, thank you. Time that they'd soon have, but first, he would enjoy the rest of his vacation.
Mitsuki-san, I love and respect you, but that slice of molten marshmallow cake is mine, alright?
Especially since he had Angie-kun to play with, and a visit from both Shouta-kun and his former disciple to look forward to. If that's how you feel, Tommy-kun, I'll happily arm wrestle you for it. Plus, with Ujiko still diligently working away on his latest project, Gigen Tomakia finally settled in his mountain domicile, and Modestro so desperately working to take his place, well, why shouldn't he enjoy his sojourn? He was nothing if not patient, after all. Yeah, you got this, Min-chan. And the rewards for his patience would be spectacular this time, he was sure. 3, 2, 1, go! However would he be able to thank young Shouta for his insight, for inspiring him so?
Denki, where did the last lights of Shouta-kun's gate go? It was right there. You didn't. Oh, was that the last piece? Sorry, I couldn't resist, and it was just sitting there, you know?
He was sure that he'd come up with something, and so, his eyes opening to take in the austere whiteness of his cell, he allowed himself to grin, get up from his chair, and approach the quadruple-bolted door as the guards made their way to collect him for his daily half-hour's worth of exercise. But he had so much to look forward to, didn't he?